Hey, good afternoon, Facebook viewers. My name's Tom Loewy. I'm a reporter and columnist from the Galesburg Register-Mail. And in the car today, once again, hi, Tom Martin.
How's it going?
It's going okay. We're going to try to pull out of this parking space without getting creamed here.
This is my number 2.
Yeah.
Driving with Loewy.
Absolutely. To let people know, Tom Martin is the managing editor for the Galesburg Register-Mail. Has been since 2003. I think that's right.
Yeah.
And, well, it was a milestone. You said to me, do you want a column? I was like, yeah, I'll do a column. So, hopefully you haven't regretted that move.
Yeah, you were in sports when I got here.
Yeah. I was,
and so was Jay Redford.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and I ruined the sports department by bringing you guys.
No,
it was still good. It's still
you still kept the editor in place, and that was a good thing.
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
At any rate, we're here today. We're talking about, you wrote an editorial about the school district's plans for possible changes and the scope of those changes. And so we're going to start with the general question, why'd you write that editorial, which ran on Sunday, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, ran a editorial on Sunday, and it was after the school board meeting, which was last Monday. They presented 5 options to the school board, and it felt like things were moving really quickly, and we didn't get hit or anything there, right?
No. Well, it's hard to see around the long line of cars.
So it seemed like things were going fast, and that there were a lot of questions that were still unanswered. And I mean, the scope of this thing is huge. We're talking about all the plans except for one. They had 5 initial plans, and all of them but one would close 3 schools down, which is, right. That's a big impact on people, on neighborhoods, and maybe it's what we need to do, but you want people to be able to understand it and digest it and then weigh in on it. So I felt like I talked with the other editors, and we just kind of felt like we need to say, hey, slow down a little bit and let's get this information out there as quickly as possible. So, and there are a couple of, on the district website, there is a survey. It's a little bit difficult to understand, but I think that is it's good for the district to reach out and try to get opinion from people. And then they do have a couple of times set up, and you can see those on the district website. They're in the editorial as well. I think it's October 1st and October 3rd.
Right, and the editorial, I think, besides laying out what you thought were some of the issues, which we'll dive into a little bit, but the reason to go to Galesburg.com and to look at the editorial, besides just kind of seeing those issues laid out, is that you do lay out all 5 original proposals.
Yeah. And
you lay out the times, and you show people, or you tell people how to get to the district website and how they can give their input. So you've got all that information. So viewers, if you want to go to Galesburg.com, it's easy to find Tom Martin's editorial. If you go to the most viewed section of the Register-Mail or the Galesburg.com, you'll see that's still in there at like number 9, I think, as of this morning. And you can click right on there, and that editorial will lay out for you the options, which we can't really, kind of hard to go into detail on a video.
Yeah.
But you can see those 5 options. You can see what the projected costs are, and you can find out how to give your informed input on the issue. I don't think people quite understand maybe the scope that we're looking at. It proposes drastic changes, physical changes, and also tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah, from 40 million to 56 million. 4 of the plans were 56 million, and 1 was 40 million.
Right.
And let me first say that this is definitely something that the board needs to be doing, that the school district needs to be doing. The buildings have been put off for a while.
Right.
And we definitely need to do something.
Right.
The enrollment is declining 2 or 3%, I guess, each year. So it makes sense to take a broad look at this. And it's been this is the second architectural survey that presented options. We had one at the beginning of 2017. So then what we have now, and let me just tell you a little bit about, so there were 5 options. This is Leggett Architects
Right.
Came up with 5 options, and that's what we're talking about here today. 2 of the options were eliminated on Monday night, and one of them was the cheapest option, which is just fix up what they call life, health, safety work. That is, make the schools safe. And so there's a process through the state that they get that work approved, and if they just did the minimum there, that would be $40 million, which is a big price tag. But
Right.
The other 4 are $56 million. So that option was sort of left behind, as well as one that had grade siding at all of the schools. So each school would have first graders and second graders. One school would have all of them instead of neighborhood schools, basically, is what we
Right.
kind of have come to understand or refer to that. So those two plans, those 2 options, the board discussed it and kind of left those behind and was focusing on 3. So this is maybe in the weeds just a little bit, but the Open Meetings Act requires that if you're going to take action at a meeting, that it has to be on the agenda, that you're going to act on it. And so the agenda said Leggett presentation. So the board couldn't officially eliminate, they didn't take any votes, and they haven't really eliminated officially any of the options. So in the editorial, we did include all the options because one of the things that the editorial argues is that we didn't see the options until last Monday, so let the public see all the options, and if that's the way the board wants to go, but that's fine. But let's at least hear from the people. Show them the plans, and then let's hear what they think.
And to be clear about that, your editorial, you're not supporting one plan over the other or suggesting how dollars should be spent. What you're saying is that, and to repeat what you just said and to add emphasis to it, is that the public really needs to have the ability to see these plans and to think about them and ask questions about them, maybe even before they give any kind of input. You're
Right.
seeking for that input to be informed, right?
Right. And we're still, we still don't have at the Register Mail enough information to know what's the best plan for Galesburg. We can't really form an opinion because we have a lot of questions still, and we still haven't seen like floor plans for a couple of the options that they're still looking at. Would have 7th through 12th out at the high school, and to do that they would have to build on to the high school.
Right.
So you need to see a floor plan, and all that stuff I think has to be public for at least a month or 2 before, so that the board can gather opinion, because this works best when the public directs the board, who directs the superintendent, and that's
Right.
really how it's supposed to work. So
Right.
I just want to make sure, and I think that the school board and the superintendent have the best of intentions here,
Right.
and I think they're doing what they need to do. We're just asking for more information and a slower pace.
Right. And some of those questions, let's dig down a little bit, because I thought you presented in the editorial some questions that I hadn't even thought about in terms of like what the plan, the proposal is at this point very general on things like tax increase, any possible tax increases, or where tax dollars may come from. Am I
Right.
interpreting that correctly?
Yeah, I think it's pretty standard if you're going to propose something. Even, okay, so there's not a voting referendum on this. This is just the board being able to do what they're going to do. They don't need voter approval necessarily. With these life, health, safety bonds, that's something the state approves, and so they don't have to go to taxpayers, but it's pretty standard if you're going to propose much spending at all that you say, here's how it's going to affect the owner of a $70,000 home.
Right.
I think that's
Right.
the average, the median house
Right.
in Galesburg. So how will it impact them? And I think they're still trying to work out details on how much that will be.
Right.
And so it just seems premature to be eliminating plans and
Right.
even thinking about approving anything if you don't know exactly what it's going to cost the people who you're serving. I think the other really big question is, what's the operational cost savings year after year?
Right.
So that is really key to this,
Because that's the reason for doing it to a certain degree.
right? You want to improve the schools, and I think a lot of that is air conditioning and more modern classrooms on the additions and that sort of thing. But we need to see that there's going to be some kind of cost savings, or if there's not, let's just present that and say there's not cost savings, but here are the plans. But either way, we need to know, and I think there would be, if you're not operating 3 schools, well, you're already talking about some jobs that are going to go, right?
Right.
And I think that when I talked to the superintendent, he was very clear that no teacher jobs would be lost, but of course there's going to be some staff reductions, some administrative reductions. So they really need to say how many jobs, I think.
Which again, I think we're at a point where that really means something, because I think every job really means a lot in Galesburg now.
Yeah.
I mean, we're past the point of where we can assume absorption into other, areas. I think that's long gone, right?
Right.
Okay, so I get a sense as a reporter and as an outside observer, but I don't have inside sources on this, but I get a sense that there's some quickening of the pace, that there's a feeling that there's a sitting board and that they've been through this process now for so long, and there's a sense that we don't want to wait too long on this, because then we're going to have to educate a whole new board.
Right.
And did you get a sense of that?
Yeah, I think that is definitely something that's happening. The superintendent told me, they want this board to make the decision, and I don't see a problem with that. The board wouldn't be elected. A new board wouldn't be elected until next spring,
Right.
and that's only going to be, I think there's 3 or 4 members who would
Right.
change over
Right.
if they don't run again. So I think that's fine, but we still have lots of months
Right.
before that's going to happen. And, there's also inflation, I guess, to consider. But then the editorial makes the point that, we had a plan that had 9 options in 2017 in January. So we did sit on that for 21 months.
Right.
So that's not a very, I guess that argument doesn't mean as much to me, is because we weren't in a big hurry before, and now we're in a big hurry. So I really feel like we just need to slow down. So let's see. I think materials will cost more. I think there's a fear that interest rates may
go up.
increase, and
Right.
then that this is all they'll have to get bonds or loans to get the work done. So every month, every year that you wait, it is going to cost more.
Right.
That's true.
Picking up on what you said at the top, slowing things down is not code word for let's not do this or let's kick the can further on down the road,
No.
right? I think there's a recognition that there needs to be changes in the district, correct?
Yep.
And those changes may in fact have to be systemic in terms of the number of schools that we operate.
Right.
Kind of amazing to think about.
It is. In talking to the superintendent Asplin, he as much as told me we want the right plan, the best plan, not necessarily the fast plan. So I hope and I believe that he's going to slow things down a little bit. At first, I think they were going to decide this in October, and I'm not sure if that's factual, but it felt like We might have a plan in October that the board would vote on, and now we're looking at least November and perhaps later than that, which I think would give people a chance. But again, we still don't have the information out there yet that we need, and so people are taking a survey, but I feel like they don't have all the information yet.
Right. To kind of review for people again, what you think maybe 2 or 3 or however many you have fundamental questions are beyond the options. So we've got 5 options that are out there.
Right.
3 that have definitely been kind of made more public by the district. But so what are the most important takeaway questions that you think people should be asking?
We just kind of reviewed them. Is that
right?
I guess what will it cost taxpayers?
Right.
That's got to be at the top of a lot of people's lists, I think. And then we want to know what's the operational cost savings. So when we close these buildings down, how much money are we going to save?
Right.
We're not going to heat our Churchill, for instance, and
right.
Gale, and either Nielsen or King. These were all the schools that would be closed.
Right.
There's gonna have to be some cost savings there, but we don't know what they are. And I think a big part of the plans that are still being considered is air conditioning, which would make for a better learning environment, so kids don't
right.
get the early releases and have to work in 80, 90 degree heat in the classrooms. I
right.
think that's probably definitely something that we should look at. That's probably going to cost a little more. So also cutting schools down is going to be more busing. So there's pros and cons with all the plans. And I know in the first architectural report in 2017, they actually listed the pros and cons, and I think that's really helpful. But I would say operational cost savings and cost to taxpayers are 2 of the biggest questions.
Right. See,
now.
I kind of wanted to re-summarize that.
Yeah.
Kind of the radio style. So
for the people who
right,
just popped in.
Exactly.
I'm learning this.
Yeah.
It's
yeah. So you're driving with Loewy. The man you're looking at, his name's Tom Martin. He's our managing editor. And on Sunday, he wrote an editorial kind of laying out the district's plans, possible plans, for reorganizing the school district in terms of schools and some of the possible designs of the high school, including that. Oh, boy, I'm stumbling here. Anyway, and then laying out some of what you thought were pertinent questions that people had to ask. So we're kind of going to draw it down to a close here. You're going to join me later this week, hopefully. You still want to do that.
Yeah.
What are we going to talk about, like on Thursday or Friday? What's coming up as far as your newspaper world is concerned?
Yeah, well, we're getting kind of ramped up for pre-election coverage. So that's questionnaires to candidates. We're talking about local races too.
Right.
Questionnaires to candidates, and we're doing a couple of forums where people can attend, and we'll try to live stream those so people can get them online if they're unable to attend, and obviously we'll cover them as news events too. So
right.
If I may,
sure.
Circle back on
sorry.
205 buildings. I just want to say. The good thing is that people have time to weigh in on these issues. So,
right.
So I guess we're still pushing for more information. Hopefully, we can get that out there. Like the editorial gives you sort of capsules of where the kids would go and what the plan would cost. So
it's a place to start.
That much is out there, but we have the time. Even if they decide in November, people can be a part of this decision. So I guess I would urge the people to get involved and not. I know that there's a lot of bad feeling about the football stadium and the optics of that, especially after we closed Cook on the south side. But I mean, we have to move past that and look at what's being proposed right now. and not just be upset when the wrong plan gets chosen or the one that we don't like, but we can be a part of that. And I do believe that the school board does want the public to be a part of it. And I put emails, addresses for all the board members, so you can write directly to them. And so anyway, I just wanted to make that last call out to say what we really need is for the people to be a part of this thing.
Right.
And they have an invitation to it. So,
well, I think people get intimidated by, I know I get intimidated when we start talking about tax rates and things like that, because it's like, oh, math. And I think everybody's busy, everybody's working, and they've got so many other things to do and to worry about on their own personal level. But it really is, even for people, like, I'm very interested. I don't have any children in the school district or anything like that, but I'm really interested. And if you can take a deep breath, give it a read, and ask questions. It really, it's intimidating because it's kind of unknown right now. But the best way to make it known is, 10, 15 minutes, right? I mean, it's you can start with the editorial. You can go to the district website and track it down. And then you can also, if you want to take it that far, like you mentioned, you can contact your representative on the school board and either have things explained or, give your opinion.
Right, and there are the two meetings, and these are not board meetings, but the administration will be there October 1st and October 3rd. I think the October 1st one is like
10:30 to noon, maybe?
10:30 to 12:30 or something like that, and then the October 3rd one is maybe 5:30 to 7:30.
Right,
something
it's
like
an
that.
evening meeting.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
So a couple of times, and really those are the ones I think you want to take advantage of if you're really invested on letting the administration know how you feel, or just getting questions answered.
Right. Because things are hard, because things maybe on the surface seem complicated, doesn't mean that you can't be informed about them.
Right.
Hey, how did this go?
I think we're all right.
Tough subjects.
We're still going. Yeah, it doesn't really roll off the tongue
No,
necessarily.
it doesn't. Listen, Tom Martin, thanks for joining us for Driving with Loewy. I really appreciate your time. Viewers, I really appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us. Look for Tom either Thursday or Friday. We're going to be talking election and the Register Mail's planned role in keeping you informed on those. Thanks a lot, Tom.
Yep. Thanks, Tom.